America's game, baseball, has been described as a church, as love, and as just a glorified game of throw and catch. But to quote President George Herbert Walker Bush, baseball is just the great American pastime, and no president has been more connected to that pastime than the 41st President of the United States. I'm Bob Summers, and this is a presidential story. President George Herbert Walker Bush had a long history with baseball. While in high school at Phillips Academy in Andover, Maryland, he was not only the student body president, but in his senior year was captain of the baseball team. He played first base, batted right-handed, but threw left-handed. He committed to follow in his father's footsteps by playing baseball at Yale after he graduated in 1942. But after the bombing of Pearl Harbor and the U.S. entry into World War II, he enlisted to be a naval aviator, becoming one of the youngest pilots in the U.S. Navy. At the end of the war, he kept his commitment to Yale, studying economics on an accelerated 2.5-year program, and of course, played baseball. In 1946, his first year at Yale, Poppy, because all the great baseball players had a nickname, beat out 4 other candidates to start at first base. Wearing the number 2 on his back, he was known for his excellent defense, and although he could make contact with the ball, he did not hit for power. All of his hits that year were singles, except for one lonely double. Bush played in all 17 games that season with a .212 batting average. The next year, Bush was the only player to start all 28 games. In fact, he played every inning of every game while batting .208. Yale finished the regular season with a record of 16-7-1, which was good enough for an invitation to the NCAA tournament. They ran through the tournament, which earned them a spot in the first ever College World Series, where they eventually lost in the championship game to the University of California, Berkeley. Bush went 0 for 7 as Yale was swept in 2 games, but he was described as a fielding artist for his defensive prowess. In 1948, his final year, Bush was elected team captain. He once again played in all of Yale's games, and his batting average rose to .245. And in one game, he made an amazing tag to complete a triple play. Yale was once again invited to the NCAA tournament and ended up in the second ever College World Series, where they again lost 2-1 against the University of Southern California. Prior to a game against Princeton, Bush met Babe Ruth at home plate in one of Ruth's final public appearances. Ruth presented the final manuscript of the Babe Ruth story to Bush as the team captain and Yale University representative. Poppy later recalled, "Meeting Babe Ruth on Yale Field was a thrill that stays with me till this day. He was cancer-riddled, his voice was more of a croak than a normal voice, but he radiated greatness." In Bush's 76-game collegiate career, he had a lifetime batting average of .224 and is the first and still the only president to have played in the College Baseball World Series. Bush had other baseball firsts and connections as well. In 1980, while running for vice president, Bush was the first to throw out the ceremonial first pitch in the championship game of the Little League World Series. When he was president, he kept his first baseman's glove in a drawer of his desk in the Oval Office. He oiled it regularly and often used it to concentrate, putting it on to sock his hand in while he was thinking. In Toronto, on opening day in 1990, Bush became the first president to throw a ceremonial first pitch outside of the United States. And while president, Bush loved to share his love of baseball with visiting heads of state, including Queen Elizabeth II and Egyptian President Hosni Mubarak. In Denver, on July 13, 1984, at the age of 60, Vice President Bush became the first vice president or future president to actively participate in an old-timers baseball game. With only a few people in the know, Bush was suddenly introduced as a batter in the bottom of the fourth inning, wearing the only uniform they could find on short notice, a Denver Bears uniform. On a 1-1 pitch from Hall of Famer Warren Spahn, Bush hit a single up the middle. After refusing a pinch runner, he was eventually forced out on a fielder's choice. In the top of the fifth inning, who's on first? Bush took the field at first base, where he dove to rob Hall of Famer Tony Oliva of an extra base hit. Bush described the day as more than fun. After the game, Dr. Bobby Brown, the president of the American League, wanted to prank his friend Bush, so he worked with the Detroit Tigers to send the vice president a playing contract for $1. It is not known if Bush ever saw the offer, but it does mean that Bush is the only president to have been offered a major league contract. After retiring from politics, Bush moved to Texas and became an Astros fan, even throwing out the first pitch in Game 3 of the 2015 American League Divisional Series, despite wearing a neck brace and being wheelchair-bound. In 2021, Yale Field was renamed George H.W. Bush 48 Field to honor their legendary team captain, who rose to become President of the United States. And that's just part of the illustrious presidential baseball history of George Poppy Bush. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, please click the like button and subscribe to hear more presidential stories. And please visit POTUS.com to learn more interesting facts about the presidents.